Make the phone calls.
Yikes.
Right.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's regular school board meeting, Monday, May 13th, 2024. We have met compliance with official notification. Roll call, please.
Laura Gatsky.
Here.
Brooke Taylor.
Here.
Nick Olson.
Here.
Sarah Schubert McCollum.
Here.
Ed Gallagher.
Here.
Nick Schumacher.
Here.
President Olson.
Here, would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Right here.
Jump for the floor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education held in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public meeting. There is a time for comments by members of the public during the meeting as indicated on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to address the board on any of the topics included on tonight's agenda may do so by signing up on the public comment sign-up sheet near the entrance prior to the start of the meeting. The board requests refraining from making any comments involving personally identifiable information about students, staff, or administration. Comments should be respectful, focused on the items being considered by the board, and will be restricted to 3 minutes in length. Action taken at today's meeting will be final approval unless otherwise noted. First up would be comments by members of the public and anything. Thank you. Next, the disposition of minutes from April 8th, 2024 and the reorganization meeting on May 6th, 2024.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the minutes from April 8th, 2024 and the reorganization meeting on May 6th, 2024. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next is the report of our superintendent.
Okay. I want to highlight our Spartan Showcase for the month of May. This month, we went out to Four Corners. We did this on Friday. And Kim had an assembly out there, so it was super fun, where we got to recognize JD Hart as our student for the Spartan Showcase for May. You can see the comments there. And then for our staff person was Kara Edwards, who is the secretary, who does an exceptional job running that school and takes care of all the staff, the parents, and the students out there. So it was very fun, and so we want to recognize them for the month of May. All right, with that, you're up. This is your last meeting. We have graduation. I told you time would fly, right? Here it is.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of haven't been here for a while, so I tried to keep the most relevant stuff, but
Picture of you.
so we kind of wrapped up all the senior project stuff May 1st and 2nd, so that was good. And then along with that, there was the annual Spartan Fiesta, which is an art showcase, so that was super cool. See all the students get to display their art, and there was a decent turnout for that. The jazz and band pop concert also happened in this month, and then the Wizard of Oz play was this past weekend. That was very good. I went to it. Yeah, it was very good. So they had 4 showings and they had a good turnout as well. Teacher Appreciation Week was last week, so that was good. There was a lot of celebrations and stuff around the high school. The Spartan Manufacturing Open House happened last week. There were raffles, drawings, a free dinner. This was another great opportunity for our tech students to showcase their skills.
You're taking all the highlights I was going to talk about.
Really?
Well,
that's
it's better
good.
for you,
That's
come for
good.
you, yeah. I know it's better for you anyway.
Our Interact Club, they ran a Power to the Shower hygiene drive it happened April through May, and actually the Student Council Advisory ended up winning that, so that was kind of funny. A couple of our DECA students ended up making it to DECA Internationals, so that was Nora Wells and Cindy Friedrich, so they got to travel down to California and compete. Prom and Grand March was April 27th. Grand March was at the gym again this year, but then they decided to move it back to UWS. Our AP testing is in full swing, and then it will wrap up by the end of this week, so. And then specifically kind of stuff within student council. We attended the 8th grade transition night at the high school. We ran some tours, had a little scavenger hunt and stuff for the incoming freshmen. So that was good. We had our spring fling with our dress up days and assembly. During our assembly, we did something a little different. One of our entrepreneurship business classes, they ran a pie in the face fundraiser for cancer. And then the top 6 teachers got pied in the face at the assembly. So that was kind of fun.
Can I ask for the teachers?
Yeah.
Oh, off the top of my head, Mr. Denninger, Polkinghorn, Miss Stubbe, oh boy. Yeah, there were 6 teachers, but it was a fun little event.
Your pictures?
I did not. Sad.
Our senior,
Fine.
yeah. Our senior turnout was a little bit better than it was last assembly. We kind of had some stuff for them to do during release, so that was good. Our staff appreciation breakfast is this coming Wednesday, so we're kind of preparing, getting ready for that. We ran our elections kind of throughout our spring fling week, so that was really good. Your new president, she sadly couldn't be here today, had some family dinner plans and stuff, but Taylor McMeekin is the new president, and then vice president is Maggie Stenberg. So we'll be welcoming in some new faces and stuff too as well. Kind of our last little stuff for this school year is working on our senior superlative stuff and our senior slideshow for after graduation rehearsal. And then lastly, I just have some upcoming things. There's a spring orchestra concert, May 29th, and a choir concert on the 20th. And then graduation and the all-night grad party. Students can now pick up their shirts and stuff and buy their tickets for that. Summer school signups are going on, so it's a great opportunity for credit recovery. Then lastly, just seniors and juniors, honors night, scholarship night, and then our yearbooks have come in and they'll be distributed soon. So
All right.
pretty exciting stuff.
May's a fun month.
Yeah, it is. And busy.
Yes, it is. All right.
Well,
questions?
I want to thank you for
Yeah.
student rep and you're remiss by not congratulating you on the many awards you have received this year, and they're very well deserved.
Yes.
Thank you.
I certainly wish you the very best.
Been a good representative for our.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good luck in your future.
Thank
Stay in
you.
touch too.
Yeah.
Kim, when, or somebody from Four Corners of the Kim
Yeah.
presented about the maple tapping. We saw a picture of you when
You
you.
were in
Oh,
there.
really? Okay, that's cool. Yeah. When I was little. Actually, the staff you recognized, I remember her. She was
Oh, yeah.
kind of one of a paraprofessional.
Yeah, she was a para.
Yeah.
Before she was secretary there. Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see her. get
Yeah.
recognized.
She's awesome.
Yeah, super cool.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Okay, one more update I shared with the board via email this week, a proposal regarding a process for strategic planning. A couple questions that came to my office was a little bit, how did the original strategic plan kind of get put together? So that strategic plan was put together in the 18-19 school year. It was the year that I started as superintendent. So instead of going through and redoing focus groups and surveys, they had just done that work within like the 3 months as part of the superintendent search. And in that superintendent search, they asked questions like, what are you proud of? What are areas for improvement? So we took that feedback as part of the superintendent search to really identify what those pillars were. And then we had one evening where a WASB representative came in for a couple hours and kind of helped us pull that information together to the document that we have today. I think that there is an opportunity to revisit that and to make it maybe more comprehensive and a robust process than what we currently have. I think there's some work to do around our mission and vision statements, for example. They aren't really necessarily like, for example, our vision statement, I think could be improved. A vision statement is really how you implement your your mission statement, and what we have maybe could be considered more of like a motto, which is also good to have. But, there's some opportunity for identifying some goals and vision for the future for the next 5 years or so. So, the proposal that I shared with you is really, I'm trying to think of when the process started in that proposal. It's really like a 4-month process where someone would be engaged, helping create surveys, helping to summarize those surveys, and then coming up and facilitating meetings for 2.5 full days with board members and some stakeholder groups. So the reason it's, the proposal is outlined the way it is to have more of a comprehensive process than maybe we did last time. And so if the board wants me to move forward with continuing planning for that, I can do that. Or if you'd like a more scaled back approach similar to what we did last time, I certainly revisit that. I think the feedback though I got last time was that we were looking for someone outside of WASB potentially to facilitate that process, who does this a little bit more regularly with school boards and school districts. So
Are there other, I don't know what you would call it, companies that do this kind of thing? And did you reach out to you to kind of get bids or?
you know, when we looked at
They do things.
some of them are pretty expensive. Like Studer, for example, is one that works with some school districts. I'll be honest, like I think that's out of our price range. This one I felt was kind of like meet in the middle a little bit. So more than maybe we paid last time, but not as much as maybe a higher.
Have you gotten any anecdotal testimonies from any of the school districts on how it's went or? How-
They gave me references. I can certainly do that. Yeah. And they gave me a list of some really great school districts across the state that they have worked with multiple times too. So I certainly can reach out, and get some testimonials.
Yeah, I saw one of them, the Dells used them 3 times and multiple times. So
And he works directly with ASA, our principal association. So he's a good facilitator too, which I think is something we're looking for too, that someone who can really pull things together in a concise but comprehensive fashion. So
I think having the bigger strategic planning method is preferred.
where we engage all of you and engage some stakeholders along the way.
Yep.
Okay.
Where are they located out of?
Madison.
Okay.
Yeah.
sorry, I haven't looked super in depth at the proposal that you sent. But I'm wondering, like, if we could have something about just, I was also new when when started doing that. Like, I'd like to see more of an evaluation plan for the board for us to check in. Like, I really felt like that was kind of lacking.
That was part of his proposal. He did ask, like, what are you looking at when it comes to follow-up? And I said, the board's really asking for data review and a process to monitor goals and have the format for bringing information back to the board at a board level. So that was part of that proposal, was that he would provide some follow-up work with me as well as our district team to be able to bring data related information back to the board several times a year that are related to district-wide goals. Because I think that's something I've heard in our retreats over the years is we need to do a better job of bringing back data on how we're doing in relation to those goals.
Yep.
Is that kind of what you're asking, Laura?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I I know our goals are supporting, the school specific goals, and we get updates on that, but us as a board, as an overall district.
And I shared those. I feel like that's an example of something that's missing in our current strategic plan. Although we really want our plan, we don't improve reading rates, right? That happens at the classroom level. So what do we work on as a district that are action steps that we can monitor? Yeah. So we don't have to make any final decisions tonight. I just wanted to bring it up so it was in open session. And as we get closer to needing to sign a contract, I'll probably just ask you again, like, are you okay if I move forward? I did send you guys a survey, so please fill that out so I kind of know where you stand. And if you have concerns, I'll slow down and we'll revisit and recheck maybe a different strategy.
Would travel expenses follow like federal GSA, or do you know what his rates are for?
I would say historically, I don't know specifically for him, but historically they would probably follow our mileage rates and then a hotel expenses.
Yeah, the hotel situation is what I was worried about.
Yeah.
Can make a big difference.
Is that a one-time?
He would come up twice. He'd come up once in September and he'd come up again in October. So it'd be 2 hotel months.
So the tentative dates you put in there,
So, I mean, the goal is that all board members participate in that. I know 2.5 days when some of you work is a challenge. So the goal is that whoever is at that committee meeting is at all of those committee meetings, because it's hard to pick up where the committee had left off. But if you want to participate in those, please let me know if any of those dates work better than others and we'll make that happen. And if those dates don't work for our folks, then we'll have to go back and revisit. We were kind of looking at our district calendar as to different meetings that we have there too when we pick those dates and around board meetings. So just, I'll follow up with the survey and then I'll kind of take it from there and give you guys some updates.
So when do you want to have this in place? We want,
I would like, well, the process really isn't starting until like later.
right.
But I'd like to have a plan going into June as to if this is the company we're working with or not. So I'll revisit, I'll send the survey out again like I did this week, so that makes sure everybody fills it out. And then I'll circle back after I know what everybody wants and let everybody know what the consensus was. Okay?
Sounds good.
And then you want to take the last bullet point?
Sure. So at the committee of the whole meeting then on May 6th, we had updates from Kim O'Donnell at Four Corners and Principal Aaron Pezzi from the high school. And you can click on the attachments to see their presentation and stuff, but they were very thorough and very informational. There were no discussion items, action items. Consideration of overnight field trip request for Michael Orrick for 8th grade students to attend Washington DC and New York City during spring break 2026.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Board committee reports. First up was the Budget and Insurance Committee. Informational item at the committee of the whole meeting on May 6th. Clinton Larson Allen LLP presented the 22-23 audit and financial statements and attachment there. I know David's glad, but I'm sure all of us are that it's finally done.
I'm gonna have Casey post the actual full
Report.
200-page thing out there. So I just got that in the mail today, actually. So it'll be out on the website.
Did you read it yet?
Yeah. That's what I figured.
Like reading.
And then we have the report on the Fund 10 revenue and expenditure reports.
David, you were looking into the finance meeting with NBC. How did that go?
Good. You should have it in front of you guys for the resolution on June 3rd. There's a lot of course, there's some archaic rules that the state of Wisconsin sets up when you're doing short-term borrowing. So
Okay.
they don't see an issue whatsoever. Collateral will be our tax payments that are coming in. So I'm working with another, somebody that writes up the resolution down in clear. So it should be in front of you guys. It's going pretty smooth. So.
Great, thank you.
David, historically, and historically hard to say that, you know, with all number of years and stuff. So we get to the end of the school year and stuff, and we find out we haven't spent all of our money. What is the normal process then you'll undertake? Where do you move that money into any special fund or?
Is it really money?
Right.
And so it's not like we have this wad of cash that's sitting out there. Prime example is in August, I get another big EQA payment. Well, that's for this past year. So it's, I have to set it up as a receivable. So I say, hey, this is hitting the 23-24 school year, even though I didn't get it until the 24-25 school year. It's just a matter of how that money moves around. What happens then is, like when this audit came in and said, hey, you had a surplus of 1.3, that money is just sitting there. It's not like I suddenly come up with $1.3 million. It just goes into our fund balance. In theory, what it's supposed to be is you have that extra cash, which then can offset you. So when I'm taking the short-term borrowing out, it isn't so much that I need it, I don't need it now. And it's close at the end of June, but I get a big payment on the 17th, and then I make payroll on the 21st. So I should be good, but I'm not going to take the risk that I should be good and then something else the state doesn't pay us. The big thing that really works for me is our end of October, early November, where I get money in August, and then we're tapped. And then we're just free rolling. So I will have a lot of money in August, and then by the end of October, I need to have money.
Right.
So, and the getting the short-term borrowing is just, I don't understand why we haven't done it in the past. If I don't need it, I don't pull it.
Right.
If I don't pull it, I don't pay interest on it. But that's the thing that's, even when I talk to other business managers, when I say, yeah, we don't have anything set up for them, like, what are you gonna do when you run out of money? We just haven't yet. Well, good luck. So it's more of a peace of mind thing. We'll always be able to set that up for our employees.
But we don't want to draw from it because it does cost us money when we do that.
And it costs us
A lot.
a lot of money. Money is not free anymore. Money was free 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Prime's at 8.5, so well, it's not.
But it's peace of mind, like you said.
Right, especially, it's there. It's,
Mhm.
I have that, I can dip into that real quick. And the fact we have a really good, working with SBA also. So they give us really good rates. I've previously went out for rates with other banks, because we're not tied to NBC as far as getting loans. They're on, they get to hold our money. And when I went to another bank, that was a national bank, they said, I can't believe you got that rate. I'd take that rate. So NBC does work with us. They're good partners.
Excellent.
Is it the same as anything else, like commercial lending? Something you can refinance or get a different rate at?
So this is where the archaic rules come from the state of Wisconsin, and I cannot figure it out. The bank must have wrote these rules. We can get this loan, so that's why I'm pushing this resolution to hit June 3rd, because I can pull money out until June 30th. After June 30th, I can't touch that money if I haven't pulled it until the board approves the new budget and a new resolution. So what's going to happen is we're going to pass this short-term borrowing on June 3rd. Then in November, I'm going to pay it back. In November, I'm going to have a resolution in front of you guys saying, hey, I want to do short-term borrowing. And that's just going to be an annual thing. Okay. It's going to be.
So it's not like it's a long-term thing anyways. It's just, it's 6-month thing.
It'll be a 12-month, it'll turn out to be 12 months. This year it's 6 months or less than 6 months because of the time frame.
Okay, okay. Cool.
Anything else by any of the other board members? All right, action items, gifts, grants, and bequests. Administration recommends approval to accept gifts, grants, and bequests received in April 2024. Motion to second. Pretty significant.
This one is, Ella at the beginning of the year wanted to do this thing called Benevita. I really didn't want to do it because it was just another thing where we had to deal with money coming in. But those $2,800 ones are Benevita stuff, so I'm glad Ella really pushed me to do it. It's been brought in significant, and it's been on there quite a few times.
Excellent.
So
Yeah, thanks to everyone for the donations.
It's significant. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. CISA 12 Shared Services Contract. Administration recommends approval of the 2024-25 Shared Services Contract with CISA 12 in the amount of $101,889. Cost for 23-24 was $117,388.
Gapsky, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the CISA 12 Shared Service Contract. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Discussion items at the committee of the whole meeting on May 6th, my goodness. School Perceptions gave a presentation on conducting an operational referendum survey. That is attached, and then we received different information from David today, so that is all I have on that.
Make a motion to accept budget insurance committee.
Second.
Motion is second to accept the Budget Insurance Committee report. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries. Operations Committee, no action items, no discussion items, informational items. Bobby Matherly, Director of Buildings and Grounds, gave a very comprehensive report. Department of Director of the Buildings and Grounds and some of the plans that took place this past year and then some planning for next year. So
Good motion to approve the operations committee report.
Second.
motion and a second to approve the Operations Committee report. Any further discussion?
Can I ask, so we talked about the replacement of the couple of roofs that we have. How do we have a plan in place for future repairs that we know are going to happen? Example, Cooper. I mean, if we have that many years to plan, what are we doing to be more prepared,
So
as prepared as we can be?
the issue is the state's not going to finance us. The state isn't giving us money to make a payroll.
Sure.
In theory, what you're supposed to do is if you're, just like your house, I know my first, the last 20 years in theory, I guess you're supposed to put money aside so you can pay for your house. The state's not allowing us to do that. The state is saying,
The budget we get is our annual operating budget. It's not, that's why we have Fund 46. So Fund 46 is what we've established to be able to put some money away, which works for projects like having to redo the basement that was flooding here, right? But it's not going to replace a $20 million roof.
Right.
And so with large expenses like that, you need to go to taxpayers.
So in that plan, talked a little bit, the LHB and
You're talking about the LHB long, yeah.
the long-term
Yep.
stuff. So I just can't remember where I put all my paper when I left. Maybe I just left it in my locker, but I know that there was a plan there.
So two things have happened. So right before we did the last referendum where we built, where we remodeled and updated our schools and then built Cooper and remodeled the high school, LHB came in and did a long-range facility plan. So we have that plan. You have different areas for every school that identify low, medium, and high priorities. That's where we identified that those roofs were going to be on schedule and need to be replaced at Northern Lights and at the middle school. Also, what has occurred in the last year, if you remember, Bobby talked about the fact that we brought in a different CISA to do a buildings analysis last year. And they also did a safety audit of our buildings. So in that assessment, they also did a high, medium, and low needs assessment of what are some of the building and facility upgrades that are needed. So we have multiple documents. My issue with the LHB one that was done over 10 years ago is the costs that are associated with those upgrades no longer are relevant because our construction costs are drastically different than they were when we did that. The report that we got last year from was it CISA 11s? I can't remember which CISA it was. That one has more updated costs. And so that's why we keep bringing some of these larger expenses to you because we've already done that analysis for the last several years. Does that make sense?
what it comes down to is, so like the question of people are gonna say, well, why haven't we done an operational referendum before? Because we didn't set aside millions of dollars every year to fix stuff. We just, hey, we can't afford, we kick the can. That's all we're doing is just keep kicking the can. Unfortunately, what's happening when you kick the can is this repair that could have cost us, example, tuck, whatever they call it, in the bricks of the buildings. Four Corners is just crazy the amount of money it is, over $400,000 to do that. But then Bryant and Great Lakes is significantly less because we would do it ahead of time. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So the more you spend now, the more money you're gonna save later on. But when it comes down to, do we make payroll or do we?
Or do we maintain class sizes?
Yeah.
Or do we, put money into some of these facility needs? I mean, those are the decisions we have to make on an annual basis. And we have, for the last 3 years, we have been putting money away into Fund 46 as we have not spent all of our budget because we've had that luxury of having ESSER funds. That is becoming more of a challenge, obviously, as we go into next school year.
That's where strategy comes into play. Like I see that 1-3 that we got there. I wish we would have done Fund 46. I wish that had been the plan they did ahead of time because it pulls our shared costs down, which then bumps up our EQA. So it's all interconnected. But again, it just comes down to where you put in your money, and capital referendum is something we're going to have to do because between building roofs and buildings in general, it's just everybody owns a home knows that it costs money to keep your house going. We've been forced not to not be able to. It's the state's intention to tell you to go to this, to your,
Right.
go to the public.
Absolutely. That's what I've gotten. That's the response I've gotten from our representatives is I highly recommend you look into a referendum.
Yep.
And it's like the biggest smack in the face.
Yep.
I think what's important is to note that we have that seesaw 11 or whatever one it is, that we have that the community needs to understand that these processes are in place. Another thing on my mind is, so when you mentioned Fund 46, all of the funds that we have, I don't know if all of us here on the board fully understand where each one of the funds could go. So I can't remember if we did a cheat sheet one time. I think
In the audit book that he provides on an annual basis, it breaks down all the different fund codes like food service and special education and Fund 10 and 46. Yeah.
Sheet I always do is The only money we can really touch is Fund 10 and Fund 27.
right?
Fund 21, that's somebody else's donated money. We can't touch that. 50 is lunches. We can't touch that. 30 and 39 a referendum. 80s community. All those extremely handcuffed on how you can use that money. Fund 10 and Fund 27 is the only place where you can use money. Fund 27 isn't self-sustaining. It's at 66%.
Which is our special ed funds. Yeah.
So I mean, the only real money is Fund 10.
So I just want to reiterate as well, like, I really want us as a board, as we're going into this, to like really have a narrative that is sticking to the same. It's not that we weren't planning ahead or didn't want to plan ahead about fixing a roof. It's that, again, and I think a lot of our families in this district understand, you pay the bills you have to first. And if you don't have extra, you don't have it. You know, this wasn't poor financial planning of our district. We have to make sure we educate the community of really what we're facing. And the goal is of our current legislature is to have school districts locally funded. They don't even want it to be a state issue anymore, which is why 90 some schools are going to referendums, whatever type, or multiple referendums. So that's the situation we're in, and we really need to together stick with that information that is accurate and factual.
I think David will do a good job of putting talking points together for us so we can stay consistent.
And I think making sure that the community knows, I mean, most people, I think, understand that you have different funds that you can't touch that money for those purposes. So, you know, as we go to an operating referendum versus the capital, you know, again, I think the message will get out there, but it's different. So, is there a timeline or a tentative timeline about a capital referendum then? I mean, when are?
It's dictated on what happens with this operational referendum.
Okay.
So if we, you know, in my mind, we would look at the operational referendum, see what happens in November, and then start making our plans. Hopefully if it passes, then we look at what we're going to do for a capital referendum. If the operational referendum doesn't pass in November, in my mind, we need to go to another operational referendum in April. And we just have to readjust our strategy and numbers.
Is that something we talk about in the strategic planning, or is that separate of that? Like, if this, then we do this in the spring. If this, then we do this in the spring.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of our strategic plan is financial health, right?
Right.
So I think that's part of our planning process. Where do we want to be?
I think it would be good to have, if it passes, we're going to do this
Yeah.
next year. If it doesn't, this is what our
Yeah.
We
objective.
could also have a board retreat this summer too, if we need to plan that out very specifically to referendum and financial planning. That might be a good summer.
And there's some things like there's a lot of strategic things going on with that operational referendum. One thing you're going to notice is it's a 5-year operational referendum, which is kind of abnormal. Usually they go by 4 years. Or someone wanted to hit a presidential election because that's in the highest approval rate on operational referendums. Second, at 2.5, if you notice, we won't increase taxes. Like there's a $7 increase on there. That's because what school perception says is if you come in and say this isn't going to cost you anything, people automatically say you're scamming me. What's going on? But if it's a real low number, like, oh, I'm getting a deal. That $2.5 million that we would get, you know, going into 24, 25 is going to be offset by a reduction on our over levy. That's the one lever that we've always kept in our back pocket. You don't want to just get rid of that because what you're doing is bailing out the state. And that's something our citizens have been taking a hit on because we've been doing that. We don't want to bail the state on. That's why you're seeing a 5-year referendum with a 0 increase in 24, 25, 0 increase in 25, 26 or minimal. 26, 27 is where you're going to see that increase coming across because we're asking more than the 2.5 is hitting on the over. The other part of it is people need to understand it's like the survey I gave you guys where it says $7, $7, and then whatever the other numbers after that. The actual tax increase is going to be significantly more because the state's coming in and saying, we're not giving you as much money. You have declining enrollment. So in actuality, the levy is going to go up a lot more. But those numbers in my mind are a sunk cost. It doesn't matter if you pick it or you don't pick it, you're still going to get charged this amount on the tax levy. So that's going to be the educational part. The survey is just, we got to get the feel of what the people think are out there. Because if they don't agree with this, I don't know how much education we can really do to get them to pass it.
Motion and second then to accept the operations committee report. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Teaching and Learning Committee, no action items, no discussion items. Crystal Hinsman, Director of Curriculum Instruction, gave a detailed report on the summer school and the Act 20 update. Any change on the Act 20 update in the last week?
No, more than that at the state level.
And then Kate Tash, our Director of Continuous Improvement and Assessment, gave us state assessments update.
Motion approved teaching learning committee.
Second.
Motion a second to accept the Teaching and Learning Committee report. Any further discussion?
WASAB did send out like an update on Act 20 and basically the gist is it doesn't change anything like you told us last week. But if board members didn't see that, just a heads up.
Talking about the lawsuit again, the lawsuit.
Yeah, they get WASAB sent out a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not changing. Are the things we need, right?
Yep. That's all.
Motion and there is a motion and a second to accept the Teaching and Learning Committee report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Personnel Negotiations Committee, action items. Administration recommends approval of the May 2024 new hires and separations report.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. There were no discussion items and no informational items.
Motion to accept personal negotiation committee report.
Second.
Motion and a second to accept the Personnel and Negotiations Committee report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Policies and Rules Committee, action items. Administration proposes the approval of changes to the following policies based on Neola recommendations in order to be in compliance with state and or federal law updates. First reading of policy 8600, transportation.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve policy 8600, transportation. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. First reading of policy 8490, graduation requirements. Corrected to reflect graduating class of 2028 and beyond.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve policy 8490, graduation requirements. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. There were no discussion items and no informational items.
Motion to accept policy rules committee report.
And then a second to accept policies and rules committee report. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Other reports by members of the board.
I do have one. At the last Scholarship Foundation meeting, they gave the statistics for the money that they gave out this year. It was pretty impressive, being $358,200 total, which is up from last year and the year before. So the amount keeps on increasing, which is really awesome. There were 144 applicants and all of them were awarded some scholarship. So really impressive stats there. Awesome for our kids.
Thanks, Brooke. I also, as we're talking about the budget, it is very complicated and I hope that the community, staff, elected officials will attend the League of Women Voters, which is a nonpartisan group. They're putting on the public education crisis in 2 different sessions. So the first one is tomorrow night from 5 to 6:30 at the public library. And then Wednesday from noon to 1:30 p.m. Everyone is invited to learn about what's happening throughout the state. We have Chris, I forget her last name, from the Wisconsin Public Education Network, talking about what's happening to all districts. David will be there to educate the public on what our district is facing. And Linda West will be there from a retired teacher's perspective to look at historically how she's seen this impact our teachers and community members. So everyone is welcome. There'll be a call to action. So there's actually, after you've learned this information, if you want to take action on, out to our legislators, we'll have information and letter templates for folks to use. And we're really hoping, we know there's a lot of folks upset with these changes in the district or, really grieving the closure of a school. We want to put this to good use. Come bring that information and let's put blame where it should be. And let's try to band together as a community to find some solutions. So that's what these 2 sessions are for. And I hope folks will come. And thank you, David, for being willing to share the information that you will with the community.
Easy questions.
Let's get that 200-page report ready.
By tomorrow. On May 2nd, Nick Olson, myself and Amy were at the CISA 12 event in Hayward. 2 presenters at first that talked about restorative practice and what it is and what it isn't. And I thought they gave a very comprehensive and thorough report. They did a very nice job. But I think the highlight of the evening, I know the highlight of the evening is when Amy was able to sit down with Nick Mattson and had a little fireside chat. And there was the fireside was in the back and everything. I was really hoping the thing would have been filmed, to tell you truthfully, because it was so good.
David.
The amount of work, yeah, you should have been there with me.
You didn't get the invite.
The amount of work, the questions that he had, and then the things that our district have done over the years and stuff. It's just not like, let's just start restorative practice. There were concerns, and I know for sure in our district, and at the first time that we implemented restorative practices, did we have enough time to really implement it fully and with or frugally or whatever word.
Fidelity.
Fidelity, that's the F word.
Other F word.
That's the better F word. But, and then learning and listening to that whole process and stuff. And it was really kind of, when you sit back and you watch how the presentation went and stuff, and I was kind of scanning the people and everything and the number of heads that were just, and then some of the little sidebars and everything. So it was just a great presentation, and I just think you did a wonderful job. So thank you.
Thanks.
I think it was really good. You were very open and vulnerable, and I appreciate that. You talked about where you learned from your own experience. And
I made mistakes and what we could have done differently in certain different aspects as a principal, or
it's good.
It was good. I wasn't sure what to expect. So I liked the format of the evening. It was better than just giving a PowerPoint. It was more Q&A where we got to have a discussion and learn from each other a little bit.
Yeah, thank you 3 for going and representing.
And she had a little bit of a hoarse voice that night, but you came through.
I did. I made it.
Clear.
Made it.
Any other reports by board members? Any other district or program highlights?
Just a couple things. Wizard of Oz was outstanding. Spartan Manufacturing was outstanding. We did have our transition night last week for students who'll be going to a new elementary school next year. I heard positives across the district on that event. It's just a busy time of year, planning for graduation, making sure we get as many kids across that stage in the next few weeks as possible. I know that's front and center, the focus at the high school right now for counselors, deans, principals, and teachers. So yeah, next time we'll be together will be graduation.
All right. So just a reminder too, the survey is there. If you haven't filled that out that Amy is talking about, please do so. There's a number of school visits coming up. Board members will be able to get into the schools and see what's happening towards the end of the school year. And the teachers and principals, I know, like that very much that were there.
I saw the videos for Teacher Appreciation Week. Was there anything else that the district had done?
The principals all kind of plan different things out at their building, and pretty much there's something every day of the week, I think.
PTs, PTOs.
You got free ice cream.
Yeah.
And cake from Walmart. Yeah. Yeah, the community really, yeah, was supportive and helped out.
Excellent.
Well, we see that every time we get that report, you know, the people that are donating to the schools and whatever programs and stuff. So our community is something else. And then just a reminder, the graduation on May 31st, 7 PM outdoor. Mr. Fezzi's been given his,
Prediction of good weather, right?
what he's supposed to be doing. So Autumn, you maybe prod that weather for that night to be.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you are planning on going, we've been asked to make sure that Ann knows and everything. So make sure you make that notification. Finally, consideration of bills and pre-approved bills.
This one, the link was updated, the wrong link previously, but now it has April's.
A motion to move to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion and a second to creation of bills and pre-approved bills to pay them. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
Motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? In favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Even soccer.
Opposed?
I want to say,
Motion carries.
As a teacher, when.
Oh, there you go. There you go. You're like, oh.
Last long.
Yes.
Or is it the last time? Before he's
I
done.
haven't dismissed you.